So it says we are live.
Okay.
So hi everybody in the group, parent to parent, and a brilliant audience. We always have a great interaction and very enthusiastic parents looking forward to engaging great content. And today we have Dr. Ishinna Sadana with us. She's from Ludhiana. And
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Ishina. And she caught my attention with all her interactive and engaging videos on Instagram. So that is how I got to know about her, which is she kept doing all these tidbits of teasers of what about parenting, about right way, or this or that. And I said, wow, I think what I got invited to, there is a parent who is enjoying parenting. It's so much fun to have parenting, not like most of the moms that I look at is parenting is like, oh my God, this is so stressful.
It is.
But
It is
that's the
for me.
difference. And
That
so
also.
here we are having Ishina with me. And we will give you 1 minute, Ishina, before I introduce more about your professional background. We play around, which is you have 1 minute to go and you have to talk about anything and everything that you wish to talk about yourself. If you want to talk about yourself in this 1 minute, how would you introduce or what would you talk about? Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a parenting coach, and as Parveen said, I'm a parenting coach. I have an Instagram handle by the name of New Insights by Dr. Ishinna Sadana, and I'm very passionate about my work. I am a mother. I'm a mother to a 4-year-old, and I'm actually learning from him. I have a very strong background in child development because I'm a PhD in human development, and child development was my specialization. But whatever I learned, practically, my son is teaching me now. And that's why I have become more passionate about my work. I have a center by the name of New Insights where I take personal sessions for parents. I try to guide them wherever there are challenges because I think it's much needed and it is not easy. Parenting is challenging. It can be fun. Yes, yes. If we want to make it fun, it can be fun, but yes, it is challenging. So that's why my role comes and I take personal sessions with parents, I take workshops for parents, and I'm just loving my journey as it is.
Wow, that's brilliant. And I loved what you said, which is she has a background of PhD in human development. And because when I started talking, I said, okay, she has a 4-year-old, and we are talking about teenage parenting, which is a experiential part of it. But as a PhD, having PhD in human development really helps. So, what
Yeah,
made you
because my
start?
thesis content, Parveen, was my
Ah,
thesis topic was about parent and adolescent relationships.
oh, that's brilliant. So, what were we aware of? I wonder. Also, Ishina, I would love to talk about like what made you choose human development as a subject.
That's an interesting question. Actually, when I had to take the specialization, I actually thought a lot about a lot of fields that I could have chosen from. I think my destiny was it, but Parveen. I think God guided me. I was very interested in human behavior and psychology, but I still think, and in that moment when I go back and I think what made me choose it, I think destiny did.
Oh, that's great. So, let's come to the topic, which is about teenage issues. I think parenting is sounds to be very cute in its younger ages, where you have all the cuteness and all the love pouring out, even with all the mistakes done. But it starts pinching when there is this transition happening from a child to adulthood,
Oh
because
yes.
it's there are so many ego clashes that comes out now. They are not anymore kids who listen to you all the time. They have their own opinions, they have their own say about anything and everything. So I have few topics that I have asked in the group, and there are parents who asked me personally as well, which is like they started feeling disconnect. This their level of disconnect that they start having, because when they're young, they feel so connected to their kids, even physically or even with conversations. But there is one of the topics that they ask about: what do we do with the disconnect that starts, the gap, the communication gap, and the disconnect that starts creating between a teenager and a parent? So, would you like to talk more about
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. It's a wonderful question because I talk about connection. Connection is what helps us in parenting. If we want to be a positive parent and we don't want to use anger and you don't want to use force in our discipline, in our day-to-day rules and regulations that we want to create for our children because for their own good, we don't want to use all that. We need connection. And very rightly said, Parveen, that parents, when our children reach the stage of adolescence, we feel disconnected because we have to understand this stage. This is a stage where a lot of changes are happening inside the body. And I'm sure this is something that all parents of adolescents must have read or heard so many times, and I won't go into that because of that. But I just want to start from there that there is a storm of changes, hormonal changes happening inside the body, which we can't see from outside. And that is the reason that and there's another thing about them, and that is that they're just starting to become adults. They're just starting to see the freedom. They are exhilarated, they are excited, and they're just like a child who's 2 to 3 year old who has just started to experience freedom, independence. I want to tie my shoelaces on my own. I also want to drink in the glass. Similarly, our teenagers are little baby adults because they've just started entering the stage of adulthood. But the thing with them is that because it's a new experience, so they want to experience a lot, and also peers become really important for them. The things that become important for them, there are a lot of clashes because what is important for you and what is important for the teenager, the clash is over there.
that?
When we accept it, when we accept that things that are important to them might not be as important to us, when we start looking with their perspective, when we start thinking that it's not that they are trying to give us a hard time, they're making our life difficult. It is difficult for them as it is. It is
Yeah.
difficult for them because of the whole changes. They are going through a storm themselves. They're all over the place. And when we see it with that perspective, we understand that it's time to take a back seat and give them that space. But how to build that connection was the question. So while giving them that space, we have to still find the connection for them. And
Yeah.
how do we do that is I know that was the main question, but this was so important to tell all the parents so that they could connect with me and they can
Yeah.
connect with their children. So connection ke liye, I will say just start consciously giving them respect. There will be times when it's very difficult to give respect to our adolescents. Because there will be times that their behavior is really putting us off and we are
Yeah.
intimidated by their words, by their decisions, recklessness. I mean, there can be so many words parents will start using when we talk about adolescence. But in spite of all that, we have to remember that we only control our attitude. And when their attitude starts influencing our attitude, when their behavior starts intimidating us, we become unconscious of our response, and that's where the disconnection happens. So giving them respect is the first thing that I will say. Second thing is, again, adolescents, they also we need to compromise a little now. We have to start choosing our fights. We have to There's so many things that we have to discipline them or make rules or whatever we call them. We have to keep them safe. There's so many. There Actually the stakes are higher and the freedom is higher for them. So it's a
Yeah.
very difficult situation for us. So we also have to understand that we have to compromise. When I say compromise, that we have to choose our fights. That's another way of connecting with them. So maybe if you're a parent who can be okay with a messy room, and then you can really put rules for the late nights and other things, then you will not be the bad guy for everything. So try and understand, are we overcorrecting children all the time? That's also very important for connection. The third thing is, Parveen, to give credit to their experience and knowledge. Let them know that you like them. We all love our children, Parveen. That's there. That's unsaid.
Yeah.
That's not needed. The intentions are the best. And I get that. But it's so important to convey a liking towards your child. Sometimes in our words, in our way of talking, I'll just give examples. My parents are like, always you're careless, or you're always talking like that. Why do you talk like that? And there are so many things that we keep attacking our children with, or sometimes parents say that my child does not come out of the room, but then
Yeah.
I also see the same parents when the child does come out of the room, not even realizing, but being sarcastic. Acha, now you're out of the room, finally. Your child thinks I was
Yeah.
better in the room.
Yeah, I know. I also get that. And especially when we live in a family which is more like Indian families are like big families. So the question, one of my friends, I was having a conversation and she says, okay, I'm conscious about my acts, but I can like I can choose my own fights, but there are so many people living together and there's so many other correction functional reality going on. Like maybe the grandparents are correcting it all the time. Maybe my husband and I do not are on the same wavelength, and we could. So the easiest way is the child starts getting defiant or in a layman's language rebellious in a way, especially the teenage age. So how do you invite more parents and families, because parenting is not just one person's job, it's a whole
That's
family that's get involved. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's so true, Parveen. And it's such an important question because most of us here are living in joint families. We are not the only ones parenting our children. The whole family is parenting them. So we have to understand that firstly, we should not underestimate our role as a parent, as a father or a mom or a mother. Our role as a parent is extremely important. So even if other family members you can't control, there will be times that you really can't control what they do. So in that situation, I just say that don't underestimate your role. You build that connection. You start choosing your fights. You start being respectful with your child. Because when we have a connection, we have more influence over them, Parveen. How will
Yeah,
we have more influence? We can't control them. That's there. That's the hard fact. But
that is
we do
something
have.
that your parents have to really get it.
But the good news is that we can have a lot of influence over them, Parveen. There
Yeah.
will be more chances that they listen to us and cooperate with us when we are connected with them, when their connection is there. So you work on your connection. The family, if you can talk to them. For example, see, everyone has a different parenting style. And it's not
Yeah.
today. Teenagers are not children of today.
Yeah.
They have been brought up in your family for a long time, so they have defined relationship patterns with each one in the family already. So it's
Yeah.
nothing new. And if you can talk, if you can share this information, for example, you hear this live, you read something, if you can share this information with with your family members, go ahead, share the information, and let them know that this is how it is. And even then, if they decide to behave that way, you really can't do much, but you have a very strong role to play on your own with your child. Do that.
Yeah. And we have some questions here, like how stop child lying to us most of the times, even after multiple guidance and advice.
We have
Teenage
lying,
lying.
teenage lying,
Yeah.
lying. See, when children start lying, if your child is has been see, we have to understand that lying can start at any age. It can start at younger ages also.
Yeah.
And lying starts when sometimes, I don't know if you, and sometimes children think that my parent cannot handle the truth,
Yeah.
is the reason they start lying. And that happens when last time maybe you didn't handle it well. So the only way to help children, the one thing that will help you in having coming around your children coming around to in terms of lying is to be very careful how you confront your child, especially when you know that your child has lied. and not getting intimidated, controlling your emotions first. Because when you're talking to your child, it can be very easily your words can be an attack. And whenever you attack, why did you lie? How could you? And as a, Parveen, we really, as a parent, when a child lies to us, we feel really, really intimidated. Like an attack has happened to us. Like, how can my child, personally, how can my child lie? Why can't children lie? They are experimenting with different behaviors. Lying is just one of them. Try and understand. They are teenagers. They are not adults. You know, you look at the teenager, look at the build. I've seen little moms with big adult teenagers of 15, 16, 17-year-olds. They look like really big, huge, especially the boys. And when you look at them, they look like adults. But we have to remind ourselves that they are not. Their brain is still developing. There is a storm going on, and there are times when parents say, "Is I can't recognize this child that he's my child. I can't recognize when he's 13, 14. I can't recognize him." And I will say that you can't recognize because he's not your child. He's your teenager now. So there will be behaviors. Lying is one of them. When you get to know your child is lying, it's much better to have a discussion instead of attack. Talk in a non-judgmental way. Ask what happened. Be more asking than explaining and telling. We have to come out of the telling mode now. That beta, this is not right, this is not wrong. Teenagers are becoming adults. They have their own opinions, they have their own voice. Ask them. Ask them, what do you think? What do you think? How can we come out of it? That's the first way to talk to them about lying. And mind your own behavior when you're talking about it. So that next time, and also one small tip, one last thing over here, when they're honest, just be very careful of praising their honesty, appreciating it. You can, even if it's something that you don't like that they did, it's before taking any action or anything for that. You just need to say how proud I am of that. It takes a lot of courage and guts to come and say this to me, and I'm proud that you have come to it. And your child will come to you next time.
Brilliant. And this is one of the most common issues that we face. Like even in an era where technology and all is so much connected, like this is how to handle a teenage guy who's in love, like love, infatuations, attractions. But what if that becomes the distraction and focus to their own personal growth in a way? Like maybe the scoring in schools, or maybe their vision for the future. I think this is the most common teenage
Yes,
issues that.
hormones are at the peak. They are in love, and they are in love is not the only thing. They think this is everything.
Yeah,
So, yes, we all have to face this as parents, and we also have to understand that even if you think that the person that your child is with is distracting him, is not the right person, your child is bound to get hurt. There's so many things that come to our mind when we see our children going with having boyfriends and girlfriends. Yes, we have to understand that again, Praveen, in order to influence our children's mind, we need to build connection. If we start telling our child and keep poking our child or keep telling this to our child again and again in our opinion that we don't like this and this is not how it should be, and you should, we have a tendency, because we feel responsible for them, we want to guide them. Firstly, we can't control them. Secondly, if you have told them once, don't keep repeating it, the message is already across, they are choosing not to listen to you. So now you
yeah,
have to work on your connection so that they start listening. How to work on the connection I talked about. The second thing that you have to do is have an open communication. So
yeah,
you can talk to children, you can sit and have a discussion. You have to be more involved. You have to be more open about talking about relationships. You will have to come out of your own comfort zone first. You'll have to accept that this is how it is. And then when you build that connection, your discussion, then you ask them, so what do you think about your studies? And how do you think you're faring at it? And how much time are you giving to it now? And I love the way you are enjoying your new relationship. I think you should give the time to your relationship, but then how do you plan to balance it? Is the kind of questions we need to But before this question, connection. And then these questions. And when they come out with rules or with opinions or with things that, yes, I know, Papa, I know, Mama, I know that I need to concentrate over here. Then that's why I've planned these 4 days for my studies. When they come out with their things, with these things, there are more chances they'll follow. And then there
Yeah.
will be times, Parveen, that children they choose not to listen to us in spite of the correction. Because as I
Yeah.
said, hormones at peak. There is thrill, there is excitement, there is freedom that they are trying to experience, and baby adults, you see. So we have to understand that there will be times, two things. One, we really can't always save them from making mistakes. Mistakes are actually their learning opportunities. It's better they make mistakes when the stakes are lower. So because as
Yeah.
they are growing, the stakes will get higher. So when they experience little mistakes, when the stakes are lower, it's better so that they are more mature by that time. And secondly, there are always ways to have consequences in place when you think things are really not, "Look, this is now getting dangerous, or I really need to now step in." Consequences are always an option, but how we have to make them is also something that we don't have the time over here, but there is a way of having consequences with
Yeah. So also there is something which is called as I've seen most of the parents who get frenetic about as the teenagers are getting more into adulthood about the sense of responsibility that's required because now the kids are going out of their houses very soon. There are
it.
boarding schools, they're going out. There are I mean young kids go out with their friends and stuff like that. There's something that most of the parents are worried about, the sense of responsibility that their kids and the trust they as parents and the fear and the doubt they as parents have, that maybe they have to address it to handle that situations. So how do you invite more kids to be more responsible adults? So that's one topic that most of the parents really are concerned and they would love to work through it towards it.
Wonderful question. And we all want our children to be responsible. And I always start, whenever I talk about responsibility, I must say that this children cannot get responsible without getting responsibility. So you can't say that when my child will be responsible, I will give them the responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like it goes both ways. So if you want your child to be responsible, you have to give the responsibility and you have to be okay when your child fails at that responsibility because that's how children learn. And that's the first thing. And the second thing that I will say is, see, we have to understand children are different. All children are different. All teenagers are different. Some are more rebellious, some are more cooperative. So we have to talk to them and give them responsibility according to their maturity also. So I always say that we have to give them from us, we have to shift the control to them now. That is there. But we also have to remember that we can only give as much control to them, as much maturity they show. It's
Yeah.
when we give more control to them, I mean, which they are not even ready to, they are not even as mature to handle, is when we get more problems. So we have to understand, Parveen, I have seen so many Indian parents. I don't know how even common it is, but whenever I talk to parents around me and with my clients, I've realized that parents give them a facilities, lot of
Yeah.
facilities in terms of finances, in terms of even
Yeah.
transport, and phones, gadgets, screens, everything they have. And I mean, no matter how mature the child is, just because other children are getting it, that child is also getting it. So that's why I have to give my child also. There's a peer pressure, there's a parent pressure. And one thing that I suggest you, before you give all these things to your child, or even if you have given, it's time to have a discussion about it. When we give facilities to children, we expect them to be act responsible. But there are always a chance that your child might not act responsible, might misuse it, might do. What about then? So when you give a facility, have a discussion with your child. Have a discussion, not telling, a discussion that now we are going to give you the phone, and we are so happy to give you the phone, that you are growing and you are independent now. But there have to be some rules. What do you think the rules can be? Let's make the rules. And not only the rules, when, because there are always chances, your chances, I think most probably there will be a time they'll break rules. What about then? So having made the rules with them and the consequences made with them is very important before we give facilities, so that there is a plan. And they are,
Yeah.
when we tell them from before, they are more responsible. With consequences also, I'll say that, remember, there are two kinds of consequences. One, consequences are which are dependent on our children's cooperation. One, consequences are which are not dependent on their cooperation. Now, if you think your child is a child who will cooperate, then the consequence can be something like, if you come late, if you come after 11 p.m. beta, it really stresses me out when you are there after 11 p.m. as for a party. So if you really come late, if this rule breaks, then what do you think can be the consequence? Maybe, and you both come up with the consequence that for a week they will not go out. That can be the consequence. You'll have to reinforce it, but that will be the consequence made together. But for that, you need your child's cooperation. Now, if your child decides not to cooperate,
Yeah.
then you need to have a consequence that you control. So there are ways to talk to children. This generation is very practical and logical if we talk to them that way.
Yeah, I think brilliantly said. And these are the tools. I think I love it when they say it's all about raising parents and not raising kids anymore. Which is like
Yeah,
we as parents have to really each day. Yes, the challenges will come up. Like it's not that if you won't have a challenge if you are a coach or you are a teacher or you are XYZ. Yes, there are challenges. The beauty about it is to have tools and have access to the information and the willingness to apply it to really walk the journey through it.
and come out
So
of our comfort zone. We have to.
yeah, true. And that's I think that's the most adventurous and roller coaster ride that we'll go once you choose to be a
Yeah.
parent. The
Yes,
most
yes.
fun. Yeah, and also I love one of the tools that we also share, which is like always be interested in them, rather than always telling them how interesting our lives are and you should follow it. It is being
So true.
interested in them will give you more information and awareness of how they function.
That's so
So
true.
let's yeah. Also, Dr. Ishina, if people want to connect with you, like if there are parents, how do you connect? Do you conduct workshops? Do you conduct personal sessions? How do
Yes.
you people can reach out to you?
Yes, so I do have workshops, I do conduct personal sessions, and I have an Instagram handle I do have a Facebook page also, but I'm more active
Yeah,
on Instagram. So I have an
yeah.
Instagram handle by the name of New Insights by Dr. Ishna Sadana. Please do follow me. I keep talking about parenting, as Parveen has already mentioned, and you will keep getting tips from there, even if you don't take sessions. But there are personal sessions and there are workshops that are there. So you can
Oh,
get in
that's
touch.
brilliant. And we have many school principals and all here. Do you also conduct sessions in schools, institutes, colleges, stuff like
Yes, of
that?
course.
And with this message, we also have all her handles given in the Facebook page. With this video, if you guys would love to go and view more, we'll add more information here. And thank you so much for coming and having a great conversation. I really, what I am picking up is the consequences stuff, which is one which is controllable, one which is like absolutely non-cooperative,
Yeah,
and because these are the practical life situations that we all go through. Sometimes it will be cooperative, sometimes you have to be in charge and act what's required.
that's
So
true.
thank you for all the brilliant insights that you've given us.
Thank you for having me, Parveen. It was a pleasure
Yeah.
to talk to you. Love your smile.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And we would love to have your Insta handles also and every information here. So we will be posting it very soon. This video will be there for a week. Anybody who has missed it can come and really view it here on the front announcement of the group. Thanks, Dr. Ishina. Pleasure to meet
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.